Rocks Tools. I'm Tom. So another Meatloaf here, and we got a few things going on. So guys seem to like that kind of walking around the shop format that we did last week. So we're going to do that again. So I'm going to call that the Shop Walkabout, and we'll walk around and look at some of the projects and the small projects that are maybe not video worthy on their own, and there'll be little updates, and we'll take a look at some viewer appreciation and some new tools. So we got a little bit of everything. Picked up a couple of tooling cabinets that I'll show you guys that are have helped with the organization around here. So we'll take a look at those. Got them from one of my favorite scrap yards. And the other news I have is I invested in some better video editing software. I won't be using it on this particular video. I've been working with it offline on some other clips that I have, and so that'll be coming out pretty soon. So hopefully you'll see it. I'll be crawling out of the pond, and instead of amphibian life, I'll be a mammalian life maybe. So so we're crawling out of the primordial muck. So maybe we'll lift the game up a little bit on the video production. So anyway, so stay tuned for that. That'll come up. The other thing is I want to give a shout out to a guy in England, in the UK. This is Andrew, and Andrew went off on his own and started his own metal fabrication business, and it's called Bespoke or Bespoke Metal Fabrication, and it's in Newport in the UK. I remember the street because it's kind of an interesting street name. It's called the Duckpool Road. Anyway, he does some metal fabrication and some machining. He's got a cool old lathe. That's a nice lathe. I can't quite remember the name right off the top of my head, but I'll put a link up here so you guys can go check out his site. And if you're in that area, stop by and say hi to Andrew. Okay, so Andrew, keep up the good work. And he sent me some cool pictures of him moving a 37-ton electromagnet with a big crane. It was kind of neat, so go check him out. And then the last piece is, a lot of guys have been bugging me about t-shirts. Now I'm not wearing one right now. Well, I'm wearing a t-shirt obviously, but I'm not wearing an Ox t-shirt. I had some prototypes made a while back, and that's these guys here with the big Ox logo on them. And so I've had some done, and it's the same logo, but it's much smaller. It's more this size here. I don't happen to have one with me, but you guys can go check it out, and you can actually buy one. And so it's a campaign. It's on teespring.com, and here's a link up here for that. And you can go, and it'll be in the description too. Go check it out. And if you want an Ox t-shirt, go buy one there. And when we reach the campaign goal, they print them and ship them out. Okay, so I've set a modest goal. So hopefully with 20,000 plus viewers, I can get a few of you guys to sign up for a t-shirt. And just so you know, my thinking behind that is I don't ask for donations from you guys, but obviously it costs a few bucks to keep buying tools and video software and things like that, and some of that money comes from YouTube advertising. And but I don't ask for handouts. I would rather you guys get something that you can hold in your hand, so as an exchange. So if you like what you see here and you want to support the channel, go buy a t-shirt, okay? It directly helps me, and you get something you can wear in the shop, okay? So enough said. Let's go on walkabout here and cruise around the shop and see what we can find. Okay, so this is the first cabinet that I got, and it's very similar to this one that I've had for a while. I got this one at one of the local junk dealers, and it's like a IBM punch card case, and I keep small fasteners and stuff in here in little trays. I like to divide up my stuff in little trays, that way I can take it to the job. If I have a little assembly job or something like that, you can grab something that you can carry in one hand and take it over to the job. And divided up by sizes here, 1/4 inch, number 10, number 8. Anyway, that's what's going to happen in this one here. This one's a little bit different. These have a divider down the center line. These don't, which is kind of nice. That means I can use a slightly larger tray than these guys here. Anyway, this was 150 bucks. 150 bucks. Heavy duty thing, weighs a ton, and I don't know. Anyway, I'm looking for organizational stuff for the shop. So this will be my fasteners and components and small components and stuff like that. So that's the idea. Possibility I'll build a cart for this that puts these two at the same level, and then is on wheels. So that might be a good project, and then I get a top surface there that's kind of in line with itself, and I can do something up on top too if I want. Anyway, so that's the first cabinet, and then we're going to go look at the other one that's in the inspection area now, and it's got a completely different purpose and slightly different cabinet. So let's go take a look at that one. Okay, so this is the other cabinet, and you can see it's a little lower, and when I saw it I went, oh man, this might work out really good for all my my pin gauges, and it has actually. So I've stowed pin gauges in here in all the drawers, and the problem with pin gauges is if you just put them on a shelf and you stack the boxes, it's really hard to get at them because it's always the one that's underneath that you want. So if you can kind of make a monolayer, a single layer, it's a lot easier to get at the pins. And then this was on a metal stand, so I took that off. That's on top here. Before everybody freaks out, these are designed to set on a stand typically, and some of them actually set on 3 points depending on the size of the plate. These smaller ones, it doesn't matter if they sit flat on the bottom or on 3 points. The idea is that the thickness of the plate determines its load carrying capacity and its accuracy. So the support method on smaller plates isn't nearly as important as it is on big ones. So that's why big ones get thicker and thicker and thicker. That way, so they can put something on the table surface. So something else, I don't know. We're going to take a look at these a little later here. This is a new acquisition here, and this needs a close-up here, and we'll come in and look at these. And this is an eBay purchase by me, and we'll take a look at that in a little bit. So anyway, that's the other cabinet, and it puts it up here, and instead of being down like this, now I'm up at a nice height here for working on this plate. Okay, so we're real close on the video on this thing here. This is this all-brick chuck rebuild for Jason, and I needed a little block here that I made up. I made this up off camera. That way I can have the music going and I can just zip through it and get it done. This is a clamping block that actually clamps around this area of the chuck here so that we can unscrew the hood. So what we'll be doing here is very shortly, and this will be a standalone video, so don't worry, I'll go over all this again. We're going to separate the, we're going to take the R8 arbor off of it, and then using this tooling here that I made, we'll disassemble the chuck, open it up, take a look at the parts inside, see what's going on with it, and see if we can help this thing. So anyway, that's coming up, a little update on that. You'll be seeing this again pretty soon because we're getting ready to use some of this paint on a project. So and once again, that's another standalone video, so stay tuned for that. Let's see, let's go look at something else. Okay, so I got a little package in the mail, and this is from Ray Cadelia down in out in the valley of California, and he borrowed a couple of tie downs. He came up to pick something up, and I loaned him a couple of tie downs. and he sent me a little care package back. But what I wanted to show you, now I mentioned that Ray is Ray likes things just so. He's a perfectionist. He does beautiful work, and it shows in everything that he does. And what I wanted to demonstrate here, I wanted to show you. So he returned my tie downs, but look at that. They're just I don't think these things have ever been wound up this nicely. Okay, and, it's just the simple things, right? It's the little things that you notice, and guys like me notice this kind of stuff, right? And then we look in the box there, and they're all nestled in there just nicely, folded up exactly the same, mirror images. And so guys like me, we see stuff like that, and we appreciate it. So now, he also sent me some other cool stuff here too. And so let's start with the easy stuff here. There's a couple of little key retractor things. And these are the serious ones that you put on your belt kind of permanently there, and then put your keys on it. Those are cool. So these work good for chuck keys and things like that you want to stay with the machine. So I've used those in the past for that. Ray, thank you. Those are cool. This is kind of neat. This is a what would you call that? It's a eyeglass retainer. So you stuff these on the ends here, like so, and now your glasses don't fall off of your head when you're up a telephone pole or something like that. When you're reading glasses. Anyway, these are made by cables, and they're really nice. So it's like aircraft cable, so it's a little bit stiff, so it kind of holds its shape and doesn't flop around on you, which is kind of nice. You might think that might be dangerous to have around your head like that, but they have a little ball in there, and so if these got caught up in anything, I think they would just pull off, in kind of a breakaway manner there. So I don't think they're dangerous that way. Anyway, and these things open up, they'll even go onto these big fat ones like this. So these ear things here, and they retain real well. So those are cool. I'm gonna try those out, see how they work. And then, so Ray caught the video of this chingadera here, okay, that we were fooling around with here. And this is the one that's got kind of a wimpy spring in it here. And for Chuck, yes, this does have the little, so this changes its direction of rotation here, or locks it from rotating. So Chuck had that question, so that's that. But Ray sent me this one here. Now this is a Stanley, okay, and this looks like a more modern version here. And lo and behold, he mounted a countersink on there. Actually, it's not clear how he mounted that, so it's kind of interesting. But here's that funny little shank here, okay? So it's a weird diameter, and then it's got a little relief that drives it. This one's kind of neat. It's got a much stiffer spring, okay? And here's the best part of this one here. Check this out. Weep. Look at that. So it's got little drill bits in there too, and it's got its own little carrying case, which is kind of spiffy. And those have that shank on it too. So, and then you put it up in there, and I guess it's a little collet thing. It locks it. Now this one's definitely got a stiffer spring on it. I tried it, it works, although this countersink is a little bit dull. Maybe we'll mount a different countersink on there and we'll give it a go. Or I'll find something, we'll drill some holes in it and we'll try it out. But that's a Stanley, a little different. Ray, thank you very much, that's very cool. And, of course there's always a little note in there. Oh. He must have a bunch of these pads around. Anyway, Ray, thanks a lot. Appreciate it. Okay, so we did a little work on the super spacer. Just kind of updating you guys. I got to get some chuck jaws for this, and they're kind of scary expensive, so I'm kind of snooping around for some of those. I want some hard jaws for this. I might make some, I don't know. probably not worth it for that kind of money. Anyway, I got the back off, and I'm going to show you the back here for guys that, excuse me, haven't seen how these things work. I never had the opportunity to play with one. Now, I took this back plate off here, and it had some, I don't know, build-up on it, and so I think this thing was, in fact, I noticed there's a couple extra holes up front here. I think this was mounted on a machine and run on a machine for a long time. So it filled up with coolant or whatever, and it's got a bunch of weasel snot and weasel resin in here. So this was scrapings off of the back, and I think that's just kind of dried coolant. And I had this thing in my car, and it was laying down, and it had some of this coolant snot on the inside, and it leaked inside my car. And now every time I get in my car, I can smell that stuff. It doesn't smell very good. So that's the rear plate that comes off, and a couple of screws. And then we'll spin this around. You guys can get a look at it. So that's the rear end of this thing. And this is the master plate in here, okay? And it's got a bunch of tapered divisions, and that's every 15 degrees there. And then over here is a little lever, and when you push that lever, it retracts this tapered pin. So it jams it in there, and it goes to zero clearance, and that pin fits that bore real well and locks it up. So let's see if I can work this and have you guys still see it. So, and then it drops in. Now, let's see, like that, chunk. Okay. Now, if you want, they have masking plates that mask off a lot of the holes. So if you're going to do 6 or 8 or 10 or whatever, right? They have masking plates that only have the right number of openings in it, so that the pin can't drop into just any index, right? Now it's not a big deal. So it's got a degree, it's got an angle scale on the side here, so you can kind of look at it and keep track of it or whatever. But that's one of the neat things is you put these masking plates on there and you rotate it, and as soon as it drops in, you know it's a correct index, and you don't have to do any math or eyeballing the scale or whatever. You just know it's going to be 6 divisions. So, and those aren't precision. Those are pretty easy to make. We could laser cut those, and then you bolt them on the back, and then it masks off everything but 6 holes or 8 holes or 10 holes or whatever. So we might make some of those. Anyway, for those guys that have not seen a Super Spacer, that's what one looks like. Oh, here's another thing here that I thought was kind of interesting. This chuck key's been modified. So this also leads me to believe that this thing was used in some kind of production type setup. Because what they did was, it's not that this broke off and they welded it back on. What they did was they reoriented it in relation to the handle. So whatever diameter they happen to be grabbing, this handle must have been in the way of something in the machine, right? This is Tom's theory anyway. So they whacked that off and they rotated it a little bit and welded it back on. So when they tightened it, it didn't hit, a tool holder or some other fixture in the machine or whatever it was, right? When they were using it. So at first I thought they broke it off, and then it didn't make any sense that this would hold up after the fact. So I think they reoriented that, and then, all the crud that was inside kind of forensically leads me to believe this was used in a production environment. So it all seems to be pretty good though, and tight. So we'll clean it up, and you'll start seeing it in some videos. So cool. Okay, so here's a little update on this deal here. I had to get a hole saw for this plug that's going to go in this box. And this is a 2 1/8 saw, and this is a special sheet metal cutter here. It'll only cut 1/4 inch thick material, but it leaves just an absolutely beautiful hole. Better than you can see the gullets are much freer cutting than a normal hole saw. Anyway, we'll show that in another video where we're cutting that. And then somebody was asking about the DIN rail mount on this, and it's all busted to snot here. And so I came up with a different way to mount it. And a friend of mine has a 3D printer. This is Jeff over at Monkey Like Shiny. He has a little 3D printer over there, and so I did a little test part. I modeled the part and then printed it on his printer. And the idea is it's going to catch these slots up here, and it's got a little hook feature on it. That's going to snap in there, and then there'll be 4 of them, and it'll get bolted down to the. There's a back plane in there that'll be in there. So it looks like it shrinks a little bit along the length of it here. I modeled it a little closer than it is there, so you can see there's a little space under that. But it's probably okay if I have 4 of them and I just balance it out, so I'm not too worried about it. And this is printed at 10% fill, and it's still incredibly strong. So it's got a little lattice structure inside there, and it's 10% of the material, of a solid piece, right? And it's still plenty strong for this particular application here. So anyway, that's coming up. Showing you that. I got my little right angle thing for the motor, fuse blocks, and some fuses for this guy, some little fuses. So those will all get mounted to the back plane and wired up. So that's coming up pretty soon. And then there's a little bezel piece that's going to go on this. It'll be kind of fun, and that'll be 3D printed also now that I've got this worked out. So, excuse me. All right. So anyway, that's another video, and we'll be looking at that. Oh, and I got a box of these little guys here to. Can you see? You can't really see the box, but there's some holes in the box I got to cover up because I don't want them in those particular spaces of the box. But we'll talk about that when we get to it. So let's go look at something else. Okay, so last week we got this Nicholson Magic Cut file, and I mentioned that I was going to try it out and report back to you guys. And this is the one that has it's kind of a double cut that's interrupted. I have to say I kind of like this thing. It's pretty good. I kind of decked off the top of these copper jaws with it, and just to kind of try it out was on a soft material that would typically load a file. And my report is that this thing is kind of load up resistant. So I'm going to keep trying it and using it, and I'll probably be commenting on it. And if I see some more of these, I'll probably pick them up because so far so good. And I mentioned it's nice and thick, so it's it doesn't bow when you're pushing on it. Anyway, like I said, I'm pretty happy with it. That's an old cast iron handle that I drug out to put on there. They're kind of neat. They have a little set screw. Anyway, Nicholson Magic Cut. All right, let's take a look at these things. So this is this eBay acquisition here. And I've been wanting some of these for a while, and I finally made a good deal on them off a guy on eBay. So what these are angle gauge blocks here, all right? Open it up, and that's what they look like. Okay, and what these are, they're very, very precision angle blocks, okay? And in fact, they're like gauge blocks. They'll actually ring together. And so this set has 18 pieces in it, and so you got a 45, you got a 30, you got a 15, and then 1 degree, 3 degree, 5 degree, and then it actually drops down, and I'll bring you in closer here. We have 1 minute, 3 minute, 5 minute, 20 minute, 30 minute, 3 second, or 1 second, 3 second, 5 second, 20 second, and 30 second. Individual blocks. So with this you can make, you know what, I don't know how many combinations that is, but that's a lot of combinations. So basically we can do angles in 1 second steps, which is a lot of angles. Now, you got to appreciate how accurate these things are, right? For them to, now this is a 1 second block here, okay? For them to make a 1 second block, You know what? This is you guys' homework assignment. Okay, so these are they're 4 inches long. Okay, so they're 100 millimeters long. All right, and that's 1 second of arc difference between one end and the other. Okay, and so your homework assignment is to figure out how much that is in inches or millimeters. The difference in thickness on the ends. In fact, I don't have the ability to measure it here. It's that small. I'll just warn you. I'll just warn you that it's that small. So Stan would really. It might be interesting to compare some of Stan's squares to these gauge blocks here, since these would be excellent standards to compare against. So now this is a working grade, and so these are only accurate to. I think plus or minus 5 seconds or something like that, which kind of is an oxymoron when you have a 1 second block. So that's their guaranteed accuracy. So I think they're better than that. But you know, like I said, I don't have the ability to inspect them any closer than that. And in some ways, these are superior to sine bar methods. Okay, just so you guys know, you know, you can't check these with a sine bar. All right, the way it works out, you can't do it. Anyway, let's get you in a little closer, and we'll take a look at them, and we'll talk a little bit more about them. All right, so there's a little closer look at them here. Now this set's it's been used. Okay, so you know, they got some marks in them, and then some of these are. Let's see, which one was it? There was one of them that I think they used a lot. That was fairly heavily magnetized. I don't remember which one it was now. And then this is kind of weird too. The paint's different. Maybe it got coolant on it, or maybe it was near some UV light or something like that, and it kind of changed the color of the paint there. But so here's an example here. Oops! Don't drop them. Let's see here. Get them to ring together there. So they're gauge blocks, so they ring together, which is pretty. that whole phenomena is kind of neat. So it's van der Waals force or whatever it is. They still argue about what is the force that holds those together. So here's a 1 second block here, and maybe we'll pull an indicator out and run it across this and see if we can see something. All right. So Starrett Weber angle gauge blocks, and this is a AG18W set, and these are steel. These aren't the chrome carbide ones. So this is just a working gauge working set. So and it has a little straight edge that came with it, okay? And, you know, there's some fingerprints and some stuff. I lubed them because they were kind of dry when they came. And so some of what you see in there is lube, and then they give you one parallel there. And this has got some kind of staining on it or whatever. Although it's weird because I can't feel it or catch it with my nail, so... Anyway, when I looked at the picture on eBay, of course the seller is showing this side and he's not showing this side. So I'm mildly annoyed with the guy, but not anything seriously. And then the other part of your homework assignment is to look up what these cost new. So Starrett, somewhere hidden on their website, they have a price list for these gauges. So you sleuthy web surfer guys might be able to find it. It's actually pretty hard to find, so check it out. Okay, so we got the 1 second block down, and let's see, what is this? This is the big end and the small end, all right, which is kind of relative in this case here. We got our little tense indicator here. Let's see if we can get a good zero on this. I've got the exposure kind of knocked down a little bit so you guys can see the indicator needle a little better. All right. Let me, you know, when it's not on 0, it bothers me, right? Even though it's just really a kind of a relative thing. There we go. All right, let's take a sweep here. Now remember, this is an angle block, right? This is 1 second of arc. It's supposed to be anyway. So we see no indicator movement. So remember, your homework assignment is to figure out what the difference is between that end and that end on a 4-inch, 100 millimeter length block, 1 arc second. So do the math and get surprised. Thanks for looking.